Um, the next one, I haven't had a chance to look over everything from today because I just got off work. But do you offer learning for children with learning disabilities? That's me and Angie. And yes, every child can learn, can do things. And usually it's better if you have them at home just because they're your child and you care what they do and what they learn, and you know them and they know you, so they're more comfortable with you. Definitely work at your child's pace. If they need to go slowly, go slowly. The goal is to learn and to learn to love learning, not to pass a test or stay with peers or anything like that, or do 5th grade work because you're 10 years old. If the kid needs to do something different, move at their pace, either slow or fast. Deal with learning disability. If they have a problem, find some help to learn how to deal with it, to teach them how to make the best of what they have. So that's what I say.
I kind of took this one as do we as a group offer this? As a group, advice is probably what we can offer. Maybe point you in the right direction with curriculum. For example, if your child has dyslexia, there's certain curriculum that tends to work better. I know quite a few parents use, what is it, the Barton method? Does that sound familiar to someone?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just giving you support as a parent, because not only does your child need support, but you do too. You are part of this process where we are learning, and we're like a family. This group, if it wasn't for Marcy, where are you? There, that way? Yeah. There. If it wasn't for her, I don't know what I would have done. I was a lost mother in a library, desperately looking for a homeschool group, and I ran into somebody that happened to be part of the group. And well, I think I'm stuck now.
Yeah, we're not letting you go.
There's tons of Facebook groups for kids with special needs or families with things. The Easy Peasy that I talked about has Easy Peasy for kids with special needs. It's
basically group. Any special need that you have, chances are there's a group for it.
A homeschool specific group for it.
Yes. If they're out of state, the laws are going to be different, but that's just the notification laws and how you do the detail. But the actual teaching, it's so easy to find help that you need. Angel, you look like you're back.
I'm back.
You're back? Okay. Let's see, the next one is there a set agenda? No, wait a minute. Yeah. Is there a set agenda or for homeschool, or can I just teach at my child's pace and see how that works for both of us?
Yes, and yes, and yes. You kind of have to have a goal. Some people need to have a set agenda every day. That is not us. We're unschoolers, so like I said earlier, rebellious by nature. Okay, just if you're going to tell me what to do, I'm going to not do it. So my children are all like that too, which is not always helpful, but whatever. My husband is also like this, so we all kind of run in that same sort of fashion where we all don't like to be told what to do. However, when you're going to do education, you do need some kind of a goal, because the goal is to graduate the child. The goal is not to turn out an automaton, but you still want them to know certain things. Now, the way you get there is to go according to your child's pace, because your child is like that's the thing. I mean, this is what you're doing. This is what you're here for. You're paying attention to the kid. Because education is not, their education is not about you. I mean, you're involved in it, but it isn't about you. So yes, take into account the agenda or the goal. Take into account the child, each individual child. Take into account the pace at which they learn. Some of your kids I have a kid who, okay, so we had some sibling issues when my oldest and youngest were, or I'm sorry, when number 1 and number 2 kids were learning math. The number 2 kid would catch on really quickly because he just knows numbers naturally because he is number smart. Number 1 kid is nature smart and body smart, and that's not numbers. So it took him a long time, and there can be a little bit of jealousy and rivalry between your children if you're not paying attention to the pace at which each child learns. So you have to work according to that, and it matters. It really does.
All righty.
Wait, before you go on, I want to add one thing though.
Go ahead.
All that, plus the fact that some kids need to be pushed a little bit because they will drag their feet. So I always recommend that you know your child best so you know where their frustration level is. So push them before they reach frustration, but push them a little bit so that they can move forward. Some kids will stay stuck in one area simply because it's easy. So sometimes you need to push them to move forward, but you can do that.
And then they get a good feeling from when they succeed.
Yes.
So and the bonus. For high school, how do I cover all the subjects that Ohio requires if it's not one of the basic classes or electives that my child has chosen, like health or gym? Are field trips enough? Christina's going to do this one.
Yes. So when we send in our notice of intent, we certify that we are going to cover all of the subjects required by the state of Ohio. But there's no requirement on how we cover those subjects. So, you know, PE, I think, is one of the easiest. You can take a walk, you can ride your bike, you can go for a hike as a family, you can do whatever extracurricular sports your kids already are involved in, and that can count as PE. But you don't have to have a curriculum for every single thing that is listed as a requirement on what Ohio wants. You'd be at school all day long, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, if you try to do a full curriculum for every single one of those subjects. You're just certifying you're going to cover them. There's no requirement on how you cover it. Just like everything else in homeschool, you get to choose how you do that.
And there's definitely field trips that you can do on a high school level. Like you can go to the firehouse as a kindergartner and stay at the fire truck and it's fun. Or you could go to the firehouse and talk to the firemen about that as a career. You know what I mean? So there's tons of high school level field trips that are, you know, more like career type things that you could do.
Right, and shadowing or volunteer work could cover a lot of those as well. As they, you know, like Amy said, exploring different careers. If you have a child who's interested in being a nurse, learning about what that's going to require, the education that's going to go into that, the things that they do could count towards health. I mean, you can count just about anything towards anything as long as it fits within the, you know, what you think is what needs to be taught in that area.
And especially for high school, the only time it needs to count is when you're doing a transcript. And Robin talked a whole bunch about the transcripts in her talk. But again, normally you don't need to count hours. You don't need to do anything like that. You don't need to worry about what subject it counts for or anything like that. The only time you need to do that is if you're doing a high school transcript. And again, it's still not exact. It's kind of an overview. So watch Robin's speech on that. The next question is, do you have to homeschool the same days and times as public school, or can you knock out large chunks at other times? I don't have anyone listed for this. Robin,
I'll take that one. You can homeschool anytime you want, any time of day, any time of year. Doesn't matter. It's your school. You get to decide. Short answer.
Short answer.
For the people that work, one thing that I was going to mention was we take our spring break in April when I'm swamped at work. So my kids are not doing school. I'm not trying to lead my kids through homeschool while I'm up to my ears in my work stuff. So there's nothing that says we just pick up school after that and you don't have to take your spring break with the public schools.
You don't have to keep any schedule like the school.
Sorry,
I'll take the large chunks of time. I'm not sure if that means like working just for 7 days a week type of thing for a week and then taking a week off. But you can, if you're doing subjects, you can do like a unit study type thing. You can focus on history. You can, somebody was talking maybe about the Civil War. You can spend a month just dealing with the Civil War. You don't have to do all the other stuff. You can make this huge life thing all around it and then not cover history for a couple months. It's okay. If you're that into it, you'll probably want to do more, but it's okay to do that. Things like reading, you should do every day. Writing, you should keep regular, and math, you definitely want to keep up with it just because it's a skill and you need to practice. But science, you can have like the huge time of doing science experiments, or history, or art, music, whatever. You can do all those things in large chunks of time, and you don't have to cover everything in a day or a week. Next question. How do you cover sex ed? Amy, let's see.
This is my soapbox. However you want. You can do whatever you want. So you can take the super religious route, or you can take whatever, out of that spectrum, however you want to do it. The only thing that my soapbox is, this world is scary, and your kids are hearing things and learning things at a very young age. It does not do you any good to not tell for your kid to get to puberty and not have heard the sex talk. So we started a sex talk at birth, essentially, when we started talking about parts and the different, way things function and why boys and girls are different and all of that. So just for safety purposes, because you've all heard those stories about the girl who's talking about her cookie and it really ends up being that someone's touching it. And, she needs to know the real word for things so she can tell the adults that care about her that someone is hurting her. So you can teach whatever you want, but your kids are never too young to learn about their bodies and the way they work and what's important and what's off limits and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm serious that my 4-year-old knows all the anatomy of herself and what the words are.
So you can teach it however you want to, but teach it. That's the basic.
And I'd add, it's not shameful, and the best place is in the car. Because they're not looking at your face, and you're not looking at their face, and the embarrassment level goes way down.
And one of the things that we started doing is I have 2 books, 2 age level books, because one child reads more and understands more than the other. And I just leave it in the room. They pick it up, they flip through, they look at it. Sometimes they'll run up and say, "Hey, that picture looks funny. Look at that." And I'm like, "Yes, that's a body. It's okay." And I just say, "Hey, whenever you have questions, come up and talk to me. And if I can't answer them, we'll talk to your dad." But I have 2 boys, so.
And answer the questions, because my 4-year-old asked in tears, "How does a baby get out of you?" And I was, why is he asking this question? Why is he so upset about this? And once we dug a little deeper, it made sense. And he wanted to know how I have a C-section scar, and that's a big scar, and it looks violent to him. So we found a cartoon age appropriate for a 4-year-old C-section surgery video on YouTube. So when your kids ask a question, even if how do you do XYZ, look it up so that they know you're the person that's going to answer these questions for them. So when they have the sex question, they don't go to little Billy down the street. They come to you with the question.
And if you have one who likes to research a lot of things on his own after he's learned about them, we made it very clear this is not one you can go Google on your own. If you have a question, you have to come to us. Don't try and throw it into Google. Don't ask Alexa. You need to come to the mom and dad on this one.
This is an ask mom situation.
Right. This is not a come up with a question in the middle of the night and go research it yourself. Write it down and ask me the next day.